Oftentimes when we work in Excel, we deal with a large quantity of numbers. So in this video, we're going to look at Excel's autofill utility that lets us easily work with a lot of numbers and kind of cut out a bunch of repetitive tasks. So the first thing we want to do is enter a long list of numbers. And if those have some pattern, Excel can recognize that and help take away a lot of the work you have to do. So in this example, we're going to start looking, just type in time. And we want time from 1 to 10 seconds. We could type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or we can go 1, 2, and in Excel, if we highlight our 1 and 2, click on the corner here, and drag down to 10, it will autofill for 10 seconds. And you can see in the corner it says, now I can go down to 11, 12, 13, but we'll just stay at 10 for now. Alright, and so it's useful, but in Excel we also like to use calculations. So Excel also has utility to help us kind of autofill our calculations. So in this problem, we're going to look at distance. Distance equals velocity times time. So we're just going to take a velocity of 10 meters per second. So we should get distance in meters. We can widen this column up here to fill all of distance. And then we can say equals our velocity of 10 times, and we can reference this cell with our time. So we click on that and it says cell A5. So column A, row 5. Hit enter and we get 10. And we can do the same thing and autofill all the way down, and Excel automatically calculates our equation. If we look, say, for 6 seconds, we see that the equation is 10 times A10, which is 6 seconds. So it just rolls down in order of the way you're going. So it automatically fills in your reference cell. Now, if we want to get a little more fancy and type, say, velocity up here, and our velocity is going to be 5 meters per second. We'll switch things up a little bit. What we would do is we could say, then we'll clear out this formula because that doesn't apply anymore. Equals, and we want to take our velocity, which is 5, times our time, which is 1. And that should give us 5 meters. So that's what we expect. Now, for the second time, the time 2 seconds, we would expect the distance to be 2 times 5, which is 10. So if we drag this all the way down, we get a bunch of weird values. So we get 2 seconds, our distance is 0. At 3, this something number value pops up. So something's obviously wrong here. So let's take a look at what equation is at 2 seconds. And we'll see, if we click up here in the formula bar, we can see that it says take cell B3, which is right here and is blank, times cell A6, which is the time that we want. So what Excel actually did was it autofilled the equation from 1, which did B2 times A5, and shifted everything down by 1 cell. So it's at B3 times A6. And if we look at time 3 seconds, where it gives this weird number value, we see that it's trying to multiply B4, which is actually a word, times A7, which is a number. So a word times a number is an error, and this is Excel telling you error in value. And you can go to help on this error, and Excel will help you troubleshoot through it. But we won't get into that. So the way to fix this is to use our $sign referencing. So it's called fixed referencing. So if we want to keep everything constant, all the velocities looking at cell B2, we can go into our first equation and type a $sign in front of B and a dollar sign in front of 2. And the dollar sign means always stay in column B and always stay in row 2. So that says always stick in this cell. So if we hit enter, nothing changes. But if we drag all the way down, now we get what we expect. At 2 seconds, we should have 5 meters per second times 2 seconds. That gives us 10. 3 gives us 15. If we look at the equation, we're always multiplying B2 times A6, B2 times A7. So we're always multiplying our velocity of B2. And a quick way to do this referencing is if you hit the F4 key. And if I hit F4, it cycles through all the different places I can put the dollar sign. So if the dollar sign is here in front of the 2, that means we'll always be in row 2, but the columns will change as you drag the equation around. And if the dollar sign is in front of the B, that means that the column will stay constant. We'll always look at column B, but we're going to change the rows up and down as you drag it. So to take a little bit more look into that, let's try and look at a bunch of different velocities. So say goodbye to our equation, and we'll say 1, and let's look at velocities all the way up to 5. So we want to say 1, 2, and then we can autofill over to 5. Alright, so we want to multiply all these times by all these velocities. And so if we just go ahead and try and drag this over, we get everything's the same because we have the $2 sign modifier on cell B2, so that when we want to multiply by a velocity of 4 meters per second, we're still looking back at this cell B2. So to fix that, what we want to do is we want to keep the row the same. So we want to keep everything looking at row 2, but we want the column to change as we drag over. So that means that we want the dollar sign in front of the 2, but not in front of the B. So first thing we want to do is we want to fill in the rest of the times from 0 to 10 using this new modification. So a quick way to do that is double click on the corner and it fills in all the way. And then we can drag this over and we get something that we expect. I dragged a little too far. And we've also screwed up here because we expect at a velocity of 5 meters per second, at 10 seconds we should be at 50, but here we are at 1200. The problem here now is we're looking at the correct velocity, but we're not looking at the right time anymore. So the time we didn't reference. We didn't do a fixed reference. We had a moving reference. So we got to go through and change our equation. So in this case, we want to keep the column the same, but we want the row to change as we go down through time. So we want to stick a dollar sign in front of A. And so again, double click to fill everything in, and we drag over, and now things are looking a little bit better. We have, at a time of 10 seconds and a velocity of 5 meters per second, we have 50 meters. And if we look at our equation, we're looking at the correct velocity, we're looking at the correct time. So now everything works out a lot better. And if we want to look at all of our equations and display them, which may be useful for you to do on homework, because as you recall, we like to see your work, you can hit the Control plus tilde, and that just shows all of your equations that you typed in. So the command would be Control plus tilde. So if you hit Control tilde, it'll show all the equations, and then it will go back to not showing any equations. So you usually don't have to hit the plus sign, but Control tilde will display all the equations, and then you can show us your work in the lab. Alright, and the last thing I want to cover is different types of errors in Excel. So we saw one error. So some of the common errors are division by 0. It will say div divide by 0. That's simple to look at. You can look at the formula and then you're probably dividing by an empty cell. Circular reference warning means you're trying to reference the cell you're calculating on somewhere. And this error to number, usually you can click right here and show calculation steps, and that will guide you through what you're trying to look at, what your formula is doing. It'll take you step by step through your formula and show you what might be wrong. So to just give some quick examples, division by 0, say we want to divide cell A6, divide 3 by cell A6. A6 is empty, it's going to have a default value of 0, then it's going to give us div 0. As far as the circular reference, just to give you an idea what that is, I say 2 equals 2 plus cell C6. C6 is empty, so it's going to give me 2. But in C6, I say, well, give me cell B6 plus 2. And in this case, cell B6 is referencing cell C6, and cell C6 is referencing cell B6. So that's what's known as a circular reference. So you're looking at a cell that is also looking at your cell, if that makes sense. And it pops up with this warning, and it may not always be an error, but then it shows you this cell is trying to look here, while this cell is trying to look here. And so we can take a look at what's going on if we just do Control tilde, and it's kind of hard to see, but it says 2 plus C6 and B6 plus 2. And then finally, to show a number error, Excel doesn't like doing square roots of negative numbers, so if we say negative 10 times 20 times negative 5, try to take the square root of that, Excel doesn't calculate it. Oh, because I said Control tilde. So it calculates it because we have the negatives canceling each other. But if we get rid of one of the negatives, now we're trying to take the square root of negative 10 times 20 times negative 5. That doesn't work. So we can go show calculation steps, and it says right here, it does the calculation inside the parentheses and says we're trying to take square root of negative 1,000. And right here it says next evaluation will result in an error. And there you go. It gives us a number error. So these are just little tools that Excel has to help you figure out what's wrong. So hopefully this helps out with your homework, and yeah, hopefully we don't have to do this again. Hopefully we'll complete class on time. So thanks.